All right, all right, all right. I want to welcome everybody. It is a Tuesday, not a Thursday, but we are making do. We got a change in schedule. We got a real good. Oh, I'm just so happy we got this Commodore made some time for us tonight. How are you doing tonight, Everett? What's going on in your world, my friend?
I'm great, B. I'm definitely great. Just another day in paradise, living the dream.
That's right. And I'm so glad that you and I got to catch up a little bit last Wednesday night with Coach Lee and Chris Griffin and Coach Lustig. They were all in town for media days. Earl
Right.
Bennett
Earl, right.
saw a whole bunch of Commodores. There was almost 20 of us got together. That was a lot of fun out in Hoover. I enjoyed getting to meet you in person for the first time.
Definitely.
I'm really looking forward to our conversation tonight. So thank you for making some time for us this evening.
Definitely my pleasure. I've been looking forward to it myself.
You know, I'm noticing that star V on your hand right there. And guys, you could have played in the last 5 years, 10 years, or 30 years. And that's going to be one of the rings that you strive to get. That's an awesome looking ring right there.
Oh yeah,
I also have mine. I'll bring it out on the occasion, but but once again, I'm very pleased that another Alabama product made his way up to Nashville, back in Birmingham area, and that's Everett. He played Coach Woody during that time period. He's got some awesome stories. But before we jump back in the Wayback Machine, Everett, tell us about your beautiful family. Catch us up a little bit about current times for you.
yeah, definitely. So, like you said, B, I'm from the Birmingham area, from Hueytown, on the west side of town. Was able to go out over to Shades Valley Way for high school just because I was a super nerd who could play sports, and so I went to the IB program out at Shades Valley because Hueytown didn't have it. So I was able to kind of pick and choose my way. So went to Shades Valley and got picked up by Vandy, got an offer from Vandy, and couldn't pass it up just because got the best of both worlds. The academic side, the athletic side, or whatnot. Um, Went up, did my time, and came back and was in banking straight out of college for about 16 years. And pandemic time came around a couple years ago, and here with my lovely wife. So I've been married for 12 years now. Yeah, it'll be 13 in October.
Now, Bud, this is recorded. She's going to watch this, say it later on. You better be sure about that date.
Believe me, B, I am the one who I have it like this. She's the one who has to question it and whatnot.
Okay. I'm not trying to start anything, but we keep going on. We keep going.
That's no problem. But I mean, I have a great story behind me and my wife. We both are from Hueytown area. Literally met when we were 5. And when I say met, I mean like her house, backyard fence, my backyard, my house. So we were that close to each other growing up. And so we went to same middle elementary, middle schools. Her family moved when they went to high school, and so we were a bit. She moved to Bessemer and went to McAdory. I stayed out in Hueytown with Chase Valley, and we kept in touch between mutual friends here and there. She went to UAB down here while I was at Vandy or whatnot, and just lo and behold, I think it was 2000, and let's see, we've been married since '08, probably 2006, give or take. Just it was those it was MySpace days. That was the big thing back then. MySpace. That's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
And I was surfing one day, and her profile popped up. Oh, look at old Dazzling. She was still looking like a fox that she was that I had grown to know. Shot her a message, and just out of the blue, hey, she'll tell you to this day. It said, hey, my long lost love, how's it going? And that just basically kind of rekindled a friendship. And
yeah, she's like, who this new phone?
Yeah, new phone, who this? Right? Luckily she knew exactly who it was. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But we sparked a friendship, but it really snowballed pretty quickly. Started dating in 2007, and October '08, we were married. And so we had a great time ever since. We about 5 years in, we had our first kid, had Elise, my daughter. And she's 7 going on 8. She'll be 8 in October. No, she'll be 8 in October. And then we have my son EJ. EJ actually turns 5 tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday! That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. They're chips off the old block. They're they got the best of both worlds. My wife was an athlete as well. She ran track, played basketball in high school. Decided to take a different route in college. She should have kept pursuing it in college. She was that good, but just went a different way. But the kids got the best of both worlds there. Jumping around, speed demons. Itching to get into the athletic side. My daughter and son just brainiacs already. So mom and dad are loving it. Looking forward to be future Commodores.
And keeping the two of y'all busy. Now I know you know the answer to this, so I don't want you to answer it. We'll answer it at the end.
Sure.
And no offense to your wife or any other athlete who ever went to McAdory High School in Bessemer, but who's the most famous athlete to ever come from McAdory High School? We'll come back to that in a few minutes. I know you know. Now, I do have to ask you about which Shades Valley High School did you go to? The one by the zoo that was there for decades, or the one out in Jefferson County, out Grants Mill Road area?
I got the best of both worlds in that too. I had 2 years in Homewood and 2 years in Irondale.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. I bet that was an interesting experience, but the IB school at Shades Valley is one of the best in the country. In fact, one of those years, I think it was ranked either 1 or 2.
Right.
Well, very good. Let's talk about sports. What'd you play in middle school in Hueytown, and what'd you play growing up and coming through Shades Valley? What sports, what positions?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so from probably age 4 till 12, so all through Little League, it was basically 4 sports. It was football, basketball, baseball, and I always liked to run track. And so I did that through middle school. In high school, I let baseball go. Those 96 mile per hour fastballs started to sting a little bit, so that was out. And so I did definitely play football, of course. I was going to play basketball, and I broke my ankle in my freshman year of high school, and I made the basketball team, of course, but broke an ankle, and it was like that point. It was like, well, hey, let's just kind of heal up, ready for track or whatnot. And I never went back to basketball. So who knows? I was in high school. I was probably 5'6", 5'7", give or take or whatnot. I had a little bit of a spurt my junior senior year, but I let it go. It was probably the weaker of all my sports anyway. So let that go in high school, and just focused on football and track.
Now, is there any truth to the rumor that I'm starting right now that the reason why you ended up at Shades Valley is you really wanted to give Jameis Winston some time to grow and develop as a quarterback and coming out of Hueytown? Is there any truth to that?
Oh, well, I think he would have had that time anyway. He was after me anyway, so he could do his thing. He can. You can be Mr. Hueytown after me. So
that's right.
I let him have it, definitely.
Oh, that's so great. Now let's talk about recruiting.
Sure.
At what point in your high school athletics career did you get serious enough about football in your mind that, hey, I may want to do this in college. I may want to beyond high school. When did that all come to some clarity for you?
Yeah, I mean, so come up, everyone had that dream, I want to be an NFL player and all that good old stuff, but no one thinks about what it takes to get there. You have to go to college first in football and do all this stuff. I never thought about that to start with, but then the first letter I got was I think going into my junior year. The first letter I ever received was actually from Auburn, and it was an eye opener, and because I never thought about it. I never thought about recruiting. None of that stuff. I had some friends who had gone on to play different places, but I never really focused on it and thought about, well, hey, there's going to be a recruitment process to be able to go to college or whatnot. Yeah. But when that first letter came in from Auburn, it was an eye opener, and I thought about it. And I was like, somebody's looking at you. And at that point, it didn't take long for though. It was general letters up front. Hey. Hope you have a great season, watching you, good luck, etc. And that was really through junior year. That's all I really got. But once that junior year ramped up and, started to wane down, you start getting those specific letters. Hey, this is Coach such and such. I want to let you know that I'm your personal recruiter for X school. Introduce yourself, meet your family, and all that good old stuff. So that middle of junior year, when I started getting those type of letters, that's when it got real.
And who were some of the schools that were interested in you starting in your junior year?
Yeah, so of course, you had Alabama and Auburn that were in the area. I think they sent letters to everybody at first, but they didn't stop. Those letters kept coming, and I met a lot of coaches from Alabama and Auburn, of course. Ole Miss definitely, Southern Miss was big because I had my best friend Danny Fowler. We were 1 year apart and followed the same path. He was from Hueytown, did the same thing I did. He went to the IB program at Chase Valley a year before I did. So I kind of followed in his footsteps.
Let me ask you, pause that thought. Did that create any ill will or any issues with the Hueytown football program and your buddies who were from the neighborhood who stayed in and didn't transfer out?
It did. I mean, and I think I talked to you about this the other night, I talked to Jason maybe, but there were enough kids from Hueytown who went to the IB program at Chase Valley that they said that there was an actual school bus that picked up the kids from Hueytown to bus us out to Chase Valley, regular kids and athletes, of course.
Right.
But there were enough athletes to where it was an issue. Basically all the friends were like, you guys think you think you're the stuff, and you should have stayed in Hueytown. We could have done this and done that or whatnot. And there was a little jealousy there, but it was I kept the true friends, put it that way.
Sure. They knew that you had some skills and that just offered a better opportunity. What time were you waking up for school, and what time was the bus? Because that could be a 30-minute to an hour ride depending on traffic.
Exactly. I mean, so the bus usually left, I think, from down there around 6:50-ish. Right at 7 o'clock, you had to be there. To catch the bus to get to school on time or whatnot. I did that probably my freshman and sophomore years, and then again I had my partner Danny ahead of me. So when he was a junior, he started driving, and we lived across from each other on the same street.
Sure.
So he was like, "Hey, you driving to school? I'm riding with you." At that point, we rode together junior and senior years.
Everett, that made for some really long days for you too, because I'm envisioning after practice, you're not getting home till 8 o'clock at night.
Exactly, and it didn't stop there. That was just getting home. Still had homework, still had to eat, stuff like that or whatever. So definitely.
Well, I know it made you appreciate those days and the hard work that paid off. Now, when did Vanderbilt get on your radar, or you get on their radar? And talk to us a little bit about the recruitment process.
Sure, that's about the same time. I mean, the same time that everybody else jumped on board was about that middle of junior year time frame. And Coach Jeff Rutledge, was my recruiter. And my dad was a fan anyway. My dad had watched him, at Bama and everything as well.
Well, I was going to say, for those who don't know, Jeff Rutledge was one of Bama's quarterbacks in the mid-'70s, and then played many years in the pros, Redskins, Bills, maybe a few other teams.
Exactly.
But few knew that he was on Coach Woody's staff during this time period.
Right,
so take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so it was a shock, to a couple guys that knew him. My dad's friends knew him and was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," So Coach Rutledge was a really cool guy. He was really down to earth, straight shooter. He gave it to you like it was. I was one of those guys who, coming out of college, I ended up being, roughly 5'9", $180, coming out, and you asked me earlier, what did I play? So in high school, I really did it all. We ran the wing T, but I played quarterback, played wing back, receiver some, but also I played defense. So I was a safety, but I'm more of a corner on defense. So I did it all. Coach Rutledge was straight, hey, not gonna be a quarterback. In our offense, you're probably not gonna be a running back either. So let's see what we can focus on. If we get you in here, we're gonna try to utilize you, use that speed, those hands, and try to get you as a receiver or get you, as a corner or whatnot. Yeah. So he told me up front to let me know, this is what we want to do with you. And I appreciate that up front. So I didn't have those dreams of grandeur. I'm gonna be the deuce all over again. You know, I was a big David Palmer fan.
That's right. Coming out of
You
JO.
know, I was. Oh yeah, yeah.
Coming out of JO.
Exactly. But that's what I appreciate about Coach Rutledge. You know, his candid honesty and whatnot. He was just, like I said, a really cool guy to be around too.
And I know you knew of Vanderbilt, but did you know of a former Hueytown Gopher who had been at Vanderbilt during my time period, one of my teammates, Rod Keith?
Rod Keith, yeah.
So, you know Rod?
Rod's from Hueytown. Rod's from we grew up in the same different subdivisions, but in the same area or whatnot. So yes, I knew about Rod. You could not know about him or whatnot. You know,
Right.
It was a big deal to have somebody from the neighborhood.
So,
you know, go somewhere like Vandy.
I got to get a little dig on him because he's just one of my buddies from back in the day. That didn't deter you from coming to Vanderbilt because Rod had already been there, right? You were still coming.
It did not. It didn't. It egged me on, definitely.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about actually coming up to visit, your recruiting visit or your first impressions. What do you remember? Statute of limitations is long past, so you can share whatever you want to share, just knowing that you may have some family members who may watch this in the upcoming days.
So we'll keep it with the PG version, definitely.
That's right.
But no, I think I remember my first impression just being the campus itself, and you know where it's set, you know, right off of downtown, and just it was a beautiful campus. We did walk through, you know, going through all the campus, through the bookstore, you know, through the freshman halls, and you know, even over to McGugin, the stadium, etc. But just the setting itself, you know, it was a beautiful place to be. And it was like this, you know, this is pretty cool. You know, if this is what a college life is going to be about, I can see myself here. So I fell in love when I first got there.
That's cool. Who were your hosts, or did you have hosts when you came up?
Yeah. So before me, I was teammates with AJ McGrew. AJ McGrew played linebacker, and he came from Chase Valley. I think AJ was 2 years ahead of me, 2 or 3 years ahead of me, or whatnot. So he was there, and he was kind of a good force behind getting me up there as well. You know, let me know how it was. And Rodney Williams we grew up together as well. Our dads are fraternity brothers, so we grew up together as well, and we played each other in high school. So he was a big factor behind me coming up as well. But those two guys really they hosted me when I came up to visit, whether it was official or unofficial visits. You know, I would just come and hang out with those guys every now and then. Even like my spring break for my senior year, I came to Nashville just to hang out. You know,
wow, you were hook, line, and sinker. You were.
I was. So just those guys were really big factors to get me up to Vanderbilt. And anytime I get in town, I would always just call them and tell them, hey, you know, what's up? I'm coming up. You know, what you got going? And so they would always, you know, hey, come on over. We'll be here. We'll come pick you up or whatever. And so they end up being, you know, my host when I came up, and you know, just showed me a good time.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, I knew of Coach Woody before he was at Vanderbilt. I knew him from the Pittsburgh Steelers days, that vaunted awesome defense that he ran. And sadly, he's no longer with us.
Right.
And I never got to meet him or of course, play for him. But I've heard many stories. I want your impression. What was it like playing for Coach Woody? Now, you were on the offense mainly when you were at Vanderbilt, but he's a defensive guy. So
right.
Talk about what was it like playing for Coach Woody?
Let's just say if Woody knew your name on the offense, you were doing something. Yeah, and I just remember when we were practicing and whatnot. You know, we had the two fields side by side. Defense was on one, offense was on the other.
Yeah.
And you know, it was the ghost scenario. You never, you know, the offensive side of that field never saw him. You heard him, but you never saw him.
Yeah.
You know, but if you did see him over there with the offense, you know, he had something working in his mind. Like I said, if he really knew your name on the offensive side of that ball, you know, you were special.
Well, I'm envisioning he was just calling out, hey, 22, come here. Hey, 16, come here. I'm just envisioning that's part of the process.
I did get some of those. I did get some of those. You know, my freshman year it was 25. So hey, 25.
Right.
You know, I've been there as well, definitely.
Coach, I've been here 4 years. Don't you know? I can see that. I can see that. Well, who is your position coach? I know you bounced around a little bit. You were a multi-talented ball carrier and needed to get the ball. But what coaches or coach really was predominantly your position coach at the time?
Yeah, so our OC, I had one OC, it was Steve Crosby. And I believe Coach Crosby came in the year I came in. And so he happened to be the OC and he coached receivers. And so he was my position coach. Also, Hy Lewis was, the quarterback when I came in.
Right.
And he became a GA afterwards. And he specialized on receivers as well. So between those two, those were the ones that kind of helped me out throughout my time there.
Sure. Well, those are some good ones to learn from.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me back up just a little bit. Sure. Coming out of high school, junior high and high school, did you pattern your game after any particular players? Did you have sports heroes in football that you really admired and liked their game?
Yeah. So, I mean, initially growing up, I was, again, I mainly played quarterback growing up, so I was a Big 12 fan. I was a big Randall Cunningham fan, my whole life.
Wow.
And I think, a lot of guys are like, well, Michael Vick changed the game. I'm like, no, he didn't. Randall Cunningham changed the game.
Yeah, a whole 10 years before him.
Exactly. And so I was a huge Randall Cunningham fan, growing up. But again, once it became kind of evident, I was not going to continue on as a quarterback, going forward. Even in high school, I wasn't supposed to be a quarterback. So long story short, when I came into high school, I was playing running back, playing wing back in the wing T. But my senior year, the guy who was supposed to be playing majority quarterback broke his arm. I think after our maybe in our first game, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And so I had to switch to quarterback in the wing T after the first game of my senior year.
Nothing like getting thrown into that.
Exactly. Luckily, again, I had the quarterback background. I never lost the moxie with it. But honestly, when you say, did I have anybody I modeled my game around? I mentioned his name earlier. It's really Danny Fowler. A lot of people won't know him unless you're from Hueytown or a Southern Miss guy or somebody I grew up with us. But again, Danny and I were like thick as thin, thick as thieves or whatnot. Grew up together, 1 year apart, lived across the street from each other or whatnot. And I mean, literally everything that guy did, I wanted to do it. I mean, middle school, MVP, that's going to be me the next year. I did it. He went to IB through Shades Valley. My year after that, I did it.
He pushed you. He was your measuring stick.
He most certainly did. And he was a triathlete as well. He kept with basketball, baseball, and football. And he was probably one of the most talented guys that I've ever met. Athletic, long and just could do it all. And so I really pat him behind him.
After college, did you guys remain friends and continue your friendship?
He's the godparent for my children.
Yes.
Exactly. His kids. I'm Uncle Everett. To his kids and whatnot. Nice. He's down in the Slidell area down in New Orleans or whatnot. And so literally, if he's not here for anything, I'm down there. If I'm not in Nashville,
that's so awesome to have
I'm
that
in Louisiana. So yeah, so we're brothers. That's my brother. I'm his brother, whatnot. So
nice.
If you see one of us somewhere down in that area, the other one's up here at the same time.
Nice. And I'm going to call him after this to confirm some of these facts that you're sharing with us. But fun fact about Randall Cunningham, he's the only NFL player, I think this is still true, who had a 90-yard touchdown pass and punt in his career.
I'm pretty sure that's probably still the only person to do that. Yeah, I remember that.
All right, so you get up to Vanderbilt. At that point, who are you trying to pattern your game? I know you're trying to learn the offense, and it's never easy as a first-year player to come from high school to college. But I guess let me ask it this way.
Sure.
First of all, name some of the guys in your recruiting class and some of the guys who are on offense with you from your class.
Yeah, sure thing. So coming in, just in my recruiting class in general, offense and defense. So Vandy came in and took 4 of us from Birmingham, and we were all over the mountain guys: Shays Valley, Homewood, and Hoover. So myself, Gerald Jackson, so JJ Jackson came out of Homewood, Anthony Ford, and JJ played safety. Anthony Ford out of Hoover played linebacker, and David Meadows out of Hoover also came in with me, and he played linebacker, but he was actually the long snapper the whole time we were there. He started as a freshman as a long snapper and took it the whole 4 years. So 4 of us came in from the same area, knew each other, through football, track, etc. So that was a good thing. On the offensive side, you had myself, you had Lou Thomas that came in and played running back. You had Dan Stricker came in my class.
Sure.
He returned his freshman year. You had Nezia Sonalu, who played receiver with me, H-back. You also had AJ Anthony Jones came in with us. He played receiver. We had 3 QBs in our class.
That's where I was going with this, but go ahead.
Yeah. You had David Wallace. I think David was out of Nashville, I believe. You had Justin Perkey, who was he was from Tennessee, but it was a country place in Tennessee somewhere. I can't remember where it was.
That doesn't really narrow it down, but yeah, go ahead, keep going.
It doesn't. So we had Wallace, we had Perkey, and we had Sean O'Connor was from Hackensack, New Jersey. So there was a big need at that point for a quarterback. I think let's see, Damian Allen left I think his senior year was maybe my senior year of high school may have been Damian Allen's last year at Vandy.
That sounds right.
So when he left, there was a void.
There wasn't a lot of experience behind the center.
Yeah, so they brought those 3 guys in our class.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the transition coming out of high school. Now you're playing in the best conference in the country.
Right.
Not playing in front of 400 or 500 or 4,000 or 5,000. Now you're playing the likes of TCU, Ole Miss, you name it.
Right.
And the crowds are big crowds. Now, most won't admit it that they had butterflies, or that first game, it was just looking in the stands, wide-eyed. Most will say, I drowned all that out. The reality, though, is there's probably a mixed bag. So talk about your first game experience. What was that like, the transition out of high school and into college?
Yeah, definitely. And I hit the ground running. So when I came in playing in the slot, I played behind Todd Yoder. And Todd Yoder was the consummate professional, took me under his wing, and we were opposites in terms of body type. Todd was probably 6'4", 6'5", had a bodybuilder's body or whatnot a little bit. And here's this freshman coming in, 5'9", 180, soaking wet or whatnot. Todd was more of a route runner, a big guy, who could move a little bit. Here's this scat back guy coming in, but we meshed and we clicked pretty quickly. So that was very helpful, being able to learn from him and watch him and everything. But our first game was Mississippi State on the road. In the cowbell days. Like, this was before that whole ban on cowbells, facetiously ban on cowbells. And in that environment, it was, you're right. The lights came on and it was like, we're not in Irondale anymore.
Yeah, but Starkville's only a little over 2 hours from home. How many family members made that trip west?
Too many to count.
I was gonna say, did you have enough tickets?
Yeah, Andrea Kane was my best friend. We kept her on speed dial. So I did have a caravan that made it over to that game. That first game.
Everett, isn't that the best feeling? Regardless, granted, you want to play. We all want to play. We're athletes. We're competitive. But having that support in the stands, whether it's just mama, daddy, and brother, sister, or you got 45 or 50 of your neighborhood over there, isn't that just the best?
It is. And I'll tell you 2 things about it. So one, our second game was Bama in Birmingham at Legion Field.
Now, guys, what you don't know, it's about 10 minutes, maybe 6 miles, I suspect, from Hueytown campus for the high school to Legion Field, the old Gray Ladies, just right across the highway.
Exactly.
So how many were there for that game?
I literally had about 50 people at that game.
Man,
So
you were asking for favors from everybody from New Jersey to Washington to wherever.
absolutely correct. So luckily, you know, there were guys. Our class was pretty spread out and whatnot. We had some guys who redshirted, you know. So those guys were on. Hey, next week, I need those.
4 of y'all from Birmingham just in your class alone.
Absolutely correct. Yeah,
Whoever held the job over the years, Andrew Kane or brothers, whoever did those jobs, that is not something I would ever. What a headache. 4 tickets times, I don't know, 170, whatever the game is.
Right.
What a mess.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Andrea, I mean, I love her to this day. We talk every now and then. I love her to this day, and bless her heart. She was definitely great.
You got to have the patience of Job for something like that.
Exactly. And if you remind me later on afterwards, I'll get you some stats. So my senior banquet, I came up with a stat to where my parents, from the time I was 4 years old through my senior year of college, they missed between the two of them. They missed 2 games. 2 football games, and they were both college games. I think one was a Kentucky game my junior year, something like that, at Lexington, and there was one more. But between those two people, they only missed 2 games my whole career. And I came up with this whole stat about how many games I had played,
right?
You know, how many miles in terms of them traveling from Hueytown to different places.
Wow, we got to see that.
It's crazy. If I can dig it up, I promise you I'll find it and send it to you. But I called it out at my senior banquet. You know, got to speak a little bit. Everybody got to speak. Our senior spoke, and I pinpointed them because, like you said, that is huge. The support that they were able to provide to me, and sacrifice, you know, to be able to travel like that. You know, it meant the world to me. It still does to this day, as a matter of fact.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, it's not like Vanderbilt just plays games within a couple of hours of Nashville's campus.
Exactly.
Where was the furthest, if you recall, that you might have played during the time?
Yeah, I think we talked before as well. I think my first game I ever started was my freshman year. I think 4th game in was TCU. So that would have been in the Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
But you know, even in the SEC, you got to go to Williams-Brice in South Carolina. So that was a track. They did that twice. Lexington twice. They did the Swamp twice. You know, so I want to say
trips for them.
They drove, they flew. I mean, for them too, it was twofold. It was a chance to get away from the hustle and bustle. You know, they both were AT&T folks, and you know they grinded it out. So it was a way to get away, but also they were proud. You know, they were proud that their son was doing what he was doing, and you know I try to make them proud myself. So
wow, that is so awesome. I'd love to see those stats. One of my teammates, Rodney Barrett, who's a couple years ahead of me, had an older brother who also played at Vanderbilt about 10 years prior to that.
Oh, wow.
And the Barretts, they drove up to New Jersey. They drove to Kansas, Iowa. Back in the day, Vanderbilt played many parts of the country, non-conference games. But it didn't matter where we were. We played Rutgers in the Meadowlands, and here come the Barretts.
Right.
Oh, that's just such awesome support. That's good for you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. So when EJ has got a game across town and you've been up all night working, you getting in the car.
Oh, I'm in the car. It doesn't matter. Wherever he is, I'm there. Believe that.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm talking with Everett Robinson from Shades Valley, Hueytown, and we're just running through some good old times. But I want to go to TCU. I want you to talk about the TCU game, and then I want you to talk about the hit.
Gotcha. I got you. We'll separate the two. One's a great memory, one not so great. But yeah, that TCU game, my freshman year, again, we're about 4 games in.
What season was this?
This was freshman year. So
that would have been 2000 and what?
That would have been 98
I'm
year.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah, 98 playing year.
Okay.
And so I think the week before, Yoder, I want to say he tore ligaments in his thumb, maybe, and had to have surgery to correct it or whatnot. And so, next guy up, but before that, I played special teams and, some return game. But now this is real, and so got the nod that, hey, Yoda's he's down. He's not gonna be able to play. You're up. And so, that week of practice was an eye opener. It was more focused than ever before. But again, Yo-Yo was there for me, helping me through, how to study film better, how to do route running a little bit better than I had done. And that was the first week that so when Coach Crosby came in, he had coached the Browns and the Chargers, I believe. And so he was an NFL guy, and he brought in a little bit of the spread offense. When he was coaching the Browns, he had Metcalf at the Browns.
Yeah.
And Metcalf was a running back by trade, but he was the one who was his slot guy, his H-back, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's what he wanted, kind of patting me around, was, hey, I had Metcalf, you can do the same. And so
that's a great one to pattern your game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I went back and pulled some old tapes at that point of the Metcalf and Mac days, and saw, how the offense ran at that point in time. And it was pretty cool. And at that point, we input a lot of different things that were kind of specific to me. Some screens and stuff like that hadn't been in beforehand, that, again, you had Yoder, who can do a lot of different things and whatnot, but my skill set was different. Sure. And so we put a few things in, I won't say specifically for me, but there were things that I did better, than Yoder did at that point in time. But again, we were in Dallas, Fort Worth area. It was a night game. I mean, it was one of those, it wasn't, fog to where you couldn't see, but it was that Dallas atmosphere, if you understand what I'm saying, just it was football atmosphere. Yeah. And so the light, I think we got there to the stadium, it was still daytime, and the game didn't start until night. So, the crowd's ramping up. Now, they probably didn't even, their stadium at that point in 98 probably didn't hold 20,000 people,
It was still small. They hadn't hit their stride yet.
Yeah, and this, now LT was there at this point in time. This was Tomlinson's, he was there. I can't remember if he may have been junior or senior that year. So he had been there and was doing his thing or whatnot. But the program itself, hadn't really caught on to what it is today. Yeah. So the crowd wasn't that big of a deal, to be honest. But it was truly, it was a football game that night. And so I had maybe 3 or 4 catches that game, and took a couple of hits that game, and it was my introduction, my real intro to college football was that game, was that night. Definitely.
Cool. Now, did you sleep the week of that game leading up? You were just all adrenaline all week.
Exactly. And and I think it's the same when you were there. Everything was, your whole day was scripted, when you played ball at Vandy. Absolutely. Whether it was wake up, breakfast, workout, class, lunch, class, meetings, film, practice, more film, study hall, maybe dinner, homework. That was every day. But normally it was after homework time, after study hall, and I'm in the dorm, I'm out. But that week it was totally different. I'm the playbook's in the bed with me. I'm trying to watch. Yeah. Oh, I can't forget to do. I can't not forget this. So it was an eye opener, but it was an exciting time.
Very, very cool, guys. I'm talking with Everett Robinson. We've got, we got Trey Holloway, we got Billy Smith, we got Gary Rogers, and some other folks have joined us. Now, let's transition. That may have been a great memory, but we got another memory. We need you to set the stage and tell us a little bit about the hit.
We can do it. It's infamously called the hit. And there's a funny story leading up to it that it didn't have to happen. And I'll tell you why. So we played the whole year that year. I think we finished that year maybe 2-9. We were only playing 11 games those days. Finished 2-9. Well, going into the last game, this was 1998. This was T. Martin's year at Tennessee. I think this was
Right.
Peyton had just graduated the year before.
Yep.
So T. Martin takes over, and they're loaded. Peerless Price, Al Wilson on defense. They had all these guys, right? They won the whole thing that year. So they come into the Vandy that year, undefeated, of course. They're rolling, and so the rivalry game between us and I call him Puke T, affectionately. So the rivalry game that it used to always be Thanksgiving week.
That's right.
With Vanderbilt, we get the whole week off. Student body is gone that whole week of Thanksgiving. And so we that year, coach let us actually, I got a couple guys, if you want to go home Thanksgiving, that's cool. You guys go home as long as you're back here Friday, by actual meeting time. As long as you're back, he was fine with it. So we go home, myself and JJ. I'm gonna call him out on this one. So JJ and myself, we go home, come home to Birmingham on that, I think that Thursday morning. Thanksgiving dinners, have a great time, family time or whatnot. And then comes Friday. And so Friday morning, we get up and it's I'm looking at my clock and I'm like, okay, yes, it's about time to hit the road. And JJ hadn't gotten here yet. So I'm like, ooh, okay, what's going on? And so I'm looking at the watch, I'm looking at my phone, nothing's happening. So finally I get a call from him. He's like, man, on my way, I can't remember what it was, but he got stuck somewhere and I'm on my way. I'll get there as soon as I can. So JJ comes and picks me up finally from the house. We hit the road. On the way up 65, we hit traffic. So now the clock is just ticking. We get to campus. Let's say meeting started, let's say 1 o'clock. We get to campus maybe 1:15, 1:20. And it's like, oh crap, what is gonna happen here? Now remember, JJ's redshirted. So his sense of urgency is not the same as mine. I'm starting, at this point in time. I'm a full-time starter that year. I'm like, hey, I kind of need to be there on time. So we get there, it's like 1:20. I walk into the meeting about 1:25, and you see those heads turn. So there's no way to sneak in. I'm late or whatever. And so after the meeting, Coach Rutledge put me to the side. He said, hey, stuck in traffic, didn't you? I said, yes, sir. Traffic was a little heavy and, So he tells me later, I'll talk to you later, later that day, I get a call from him. He said, well, hey, it's FYI, you seen the first half out. And so, broke my heart. It's the last game of the year. I say I've been a starter this year, and it's like, wow, really? So I'm relegated to special teams the first half of the game. Now we're getting drilled, so it didn't really matter other than being a competitor or whatnot. So, but I do start second half.
Sure.
So Nezi Hassanoglu starts the first half. He's behind me at H-back. So he plays the first half. I play the second half. Second half starts. I think this was third quarter. We run a little what we call a choice route where H-back goes just underneath across the field.
Yeah.
Zolman snaps the ball. Zolman's the quarterback at this point in time of the year. Snaps the ball. And I kid you not, B. I promise you, from the snap of the ball, his eyes focus directly on me. Now at this point, there's Al Wilson, there's Eric Westmoreland, and there's a guy who was the best linebacker. I can't remember his name for whatever reason, but he was better than both those guys. So they had three of the best linebackers in the country that year. I'm running a underneath route right to these guys.
Right.
Zolman snaps it, locks in on me across the field. And it's a soft motor pass, and I kid you not, literally, ball touches my fingertips, Eric Westmoreland catches me square underneath the chin.
Uh-oh.
Feet go up. It goes down. We're still on turf at that point in time. This that little carpet turf we had.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I bounce. It's one of those hits where I flip and bounce and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm on the ground. I'm seeing those little birdies, of course. And the thing that made me get up is the guys are like, you hurt. Stay down. My pride. At that point, the pride's like, nah, dog. I gotta get up. So I get up and leave off the field or whatnot. Shake it off and go through my whole little spiel. But after the game, man, the voicemail on my cell was absolutely full because that was a CBS game. That was a CBS night game.
Yeah. Everybody saw it.
My wife, again, we were still friends at this point in time, right? Just friends back then.
Right.
My wife says she remembers that hit. To this day. Yes.
Have you seen replays of it?
You can YouTube it right now. If you YouTube Everett Robinson Vanderbilt, you're probably gonna find that hit. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna find it and post it, but I gotta ask this. It's not always the hit to you that's the painful part.
Right.
It's usually going to be the next hit when you're hitting that ground.
Yes. And that's what it
was.
was.
Either one or more tacklers are with you in their body weight. Was it a little bit of both?
It was both. It was shock impact. So I mean, like you said, the hit itself, technique. It was a technique hit. He caught me square. Yeah. I'm not looking, blindsided up on the chin. He did his job. I couldn't fault him for that at all. The hit wasn't the big part. It was the impact on that. Yeah. I still call it concrete, basically. The concrete.
It was like you found the parking lot. It was horrible.
It was up at the parking lot, right? Yeah. It was that I think shook me up more than anything else.
Now, did Zolman throw a man route and you were running a zone route, or what do you think led to it?
To this day, I have no idea. I do know from watching the film, he knew at the snap where he was throwing that ball. He was throwing it to me no matter what happened on that play.
And the linebacker locked eyes.
Locked in, exactly. And it was like a heat-seeking missile.
Well, we're not going to end on that note. We are not going to end right there. But and I appreciate you sharing your journey with us, Everett. This has been an awesome conversation. I've really, really have enjoyed it. But I want to ask you in all seriousness, what did it mean to you to represent Vanderbilt during your days as a student athlete, and then after graduation and now into the future? What did that mean to you back then and now?
Yeah, so it was a big pride thing for me. Again, I will always describe myself. I was a nerd who could play sports. That was it. That was my biggest thing. So being able to get the best of both worlds at Vandy, the academic side for sure, and athletics and whatnot in the SEC, you couldn't beat it, And to be able to attend somewhere like that when a lot of the guys I came up with and knew and grew up with and whatnot couldn't do it. Not that they didn't want to, they just couldn't do it. And for me to be able to succeed like that and to be able to do it and experiencing it, it was a joy. It was a pure joy. Even when the days were long and dog summer and when I joke and say when Birmingham if it's hot here, it's smoking in Nashville. If it's cold here, it's freezing in Nashville. So Nashville gets that kind of weather. But through all of that, it didn't matter. I loved it. And then representing that star meant a whole lot. But even after that, the guys who followed me. So I had another high school teammate, Ronald Hatcher, who followed a couple years behind me, came from Chase Valley and patterned his game, some of his game around me up there as well. That was huge. Me being able to get him up there. And then after that, being able to come back and, help recruit guys and see these guys learning and training and, knowing that they were going to go through the same thing I went through and could handle it on both sides in the classroom and on the field. You can't beat it. And again, to personally know what it means and how hard it is to do that, and you choose to do it. That's the biggest thing. You chose this life, and to see guys that still do it to this day, it's absolutely amazing. I love coming back. I've had season tickets for the past probably 10 years, 19 years or so. I just love coming back. I love Nashville itself per se, but I love Vanderbilt. I absolutely love it. The fact that my dad, man, is probably still to this day one of the biggest Vanderbilt fans ever. They tabbed him Commodore Dad back in the day. My dad made signs at the house himself and would bring them and give to the student section. His big thing here, a saying he brought to Vanderbilt that said, "Dare to believe," and it became a motto around that campus. It became a motto on that field. And it was true. We were the only ones who believed in ourselves. And if we didn't believe, who would? So he ingrained it in me, and it meant a whole lot. It still means a whole lot to this day or whatnot, And to know these guys choose that life, it means a lot.
Awesome. Before I let you get out of here, greatest athlete in McAdory High School history was?
Vincent Jackson. And a lot of guys, if you don't know who Vincent Jackson is, go look it up. You know him better as Bo. That's right.
Oh, now, last serious question before we truly let you get out of here.
Sure.
AFord, JJ, or you, most amount of pizza consumed out of Munchie Mart over those 4 years?
So AFord gets a pass because he transferred to Louisville, I want to say after our sophomore year. Mm-hmm. So he gets eliminated.
Okay.
So that leads it to between me and JJ. JJ was a little wiry back then. He was a little slimmer guy than I was. And I was more the stocky, compact guy. I'd probably say it was probably me down more than he did back then.
I got you. Well, I've been talking to Jeremy. My internet's been going in and out on me tonight, but I really appreciate sharing your story. Awesome stories about your parents and their dedication, and just the TCU representing G Valley and Hueytown. Thank you, man, for spending. We still got a connection.
There we go. I got you now. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you having me on, man. It's been a blast. Again, I enjoyed meeting you last week, and putting a face behind to the name and everything. And just when you invited me over, I said, oh yeah, anytime you need me, just let me know. This was awesome.
Oh, this was so much fun. Please, if you get a chance to find the statistics, I want to see those. Let's share those. I'm gonna go find the hit. Sorry, I got to at this point, but guys,
it's become my moniker. I know everybody.
That's right.
No
every week, conversations with Commodores. We may have to switch it around different nights, different times, but what is consistent is we've just got awesome Commodores sharing a little bit more about the oral history of our program. Mm-hmm. Whether you played in the 50s, 60s, or even 2 years ago. I love hearing those stories. So thank you guys who are commenting, who come each week to these, and we're going to keep doing them every week. We got some great guests, including in 2 weeks, we got our own coach, Clark Lee, is going to join us. I'm really looking forward to that. You guys be well. E-Rob, you take care. Let's anchor down.
Same thing to you, B. Anchor down.